Hello, I am Dylan and I'm going to give you a demo today of how to use the Housekeeper gem. And the Housekeeper gem is a gem in the main GitLab Rails codebase in a gem subdirectory. It might be moved to its own project in future, but for today it is in the main GitLab Rails codebase. This gem can still be used outside of GitLab by being added as a gem using the full URL and path, and there'll be documentation for that. But for now, I'm just going to show you how to use it in the GitLab codebase, and we are going to create a keep with the Housekeeper gem. A keep is the primary functional unit of Housekeeper, and a keep is basically like a single automation, and you could think about it like a cop with RuboCop, in the sense that it is designed to find problems with your code base and then fix problems with your code base. But the thing that it does that RuboCop doesn't do, and pretty much the thing that makes Housekeeper really an efficiency gain, is that it creates merge requests for you, and you could have it create many small merge requests. The primary philosophy with Housekeeper is that you really want to keep each change very small so that it's easy to review. And so if you need to do a large refactoring across the code base, that might be many merge requests, but reviewers only have to review a small change at a time. So a keep is how we describe a change and the change, and how we find the changes and how we make the changes. So let me start with the simple example from the README. So the simple example from the README says we create a file called keeps pretty useless keep.rb, and in that file we put our pretty useless keep. Now the pretty useless keep is looping over the numbers 1 through 3, and basically it is here creating a file by using the touch command to just create a file called new file 1, new file 2, new file 3 .txt, and then it creates a Housekeeper change object. The change is how we describe what we're changing and it has all the metadata needed to create the merge request with it. Every change has identifiers. These just need to be unique so that in case you rerun Housekeeper, it can update the existing merge request. A change has a title, which will be the title of the merge request as well as the commit message title. A change has a description. Similarly, it'll be the description of the merge request and the commit body. You can add labels to a change, and you need to always specify which files you expect it to change. And you can optionally skip running CI, which is useful with most changes. When you're pushing up lots of changes, triggering too many CI pipelines at once tends to get you rate limited. So this is optional, but often useful and recommended when you're developing this. So I've created this pretty useless keep per the README instructions, and it says you just need to run this command. So we run Housekeeper and we tell it to run this specific keep. If we don't tell it to run that, it'll run all keeps. We tell it we want to do a dry run and we want to create 3 merge requests. But before we do 3, I'll just show what it looks like with a single merge request. So this is Housekeeper running the pretty useless keep here to create a single merge request. So the single merge request was just here. It's not giving me a URL because I've run it in dry run mode, but this is the details of what would be in the merge request, and it basically is saying this is the diff. It's just created this one file called new file 1.txt. So if I was to now create 3 merge requests, it would look like this. While that is running, the next step we're going to do is we're going to create the merge request for real and not use dry run. Okay, so that's finished. We've created 3 merge requests. Well, we haven't actually created the merge request, but we've got the dry run output of what it would have been. So like I was mentioning with the philosophy of Housekeeper to create many small changes, it's 3 different merge requests, each one creating a single file. So in order to run Housekeeper without dry run, we just need to set a few things. We need to, if we want to push to a different remote, which I'll do for the purposes of this demo because it's easier, we add a remote called Housekeeper, git remote add Housekeeper. So I'm just adding this git remote here to be my fork of the GitLab codebase so that I don't create merge requests in the real codebase for now. And then we need to set the target project ID. So the target project ID we can get from here. So this is my fork of GitLab, and we can just copy our project ID from here. But if you're using the real GitLab codebase, you get the project ID from that. So I set the target project ID, and I need a Housekeeper API token. So API token. So in my case, I just have that in one password. And I set that environment variable. That's needed because the Housekeeper uses the GitLab API to create the merge requests. So now we can rerun this thing without dry run, and we'll just run it with, well, we'll run it with all 3 merge requests. If we don't set -m, it'll just create 1 merge request. And that should take a minute. This is slower on this code base because the git push commands take a while, and so that's probably the bulk of the time here. But it first actually creates a merge request before it's pushed the code, so it's actually given me the URL and then creates the pushes the code a few seconds later there. So I reload this page and I can see that is my merge request, which just created a new file 1. And now it's going and creating the second merge request. And so the descriptions as we put it here. And now if I go back to the merge request tab, I've only got 2 of them now. We're still going. Okay, so now I should have all 3 merge requests, and it's just pushing code for the 3rd one right now. So that is the very basics of how to create a keep. It's very simple. All you need to do is you typically have a loop in your keep because you're wanting to fix multiple problems with the code base. It doesn't really make sense to have a keep that only just creates a single merge request. And you create change objects and you yield the change objects from your each change method. That's all that is needed to make a keep. So now we are going to create a slightly more interesting keep. So this comes from the example where Tim keeps telling us we need to remove jQuery from our code base. So I'm going to create a keep that removes jQuery from our code base. So we create a keep called jQuery cleanups keep. So I'm going to copy all this over, what I need here. So it won't loop over 1, 2, 3, but instead it's going to loop over each file with jQuery. And in here, we are going to create a change object. We are going to use identifiers will be the class name and the file that's unique for each merge request we want to create. And here we want to say we remove jQuery from this file. That'll be the title of our merge requests. And then the description will be this mr removed jQuery from file. Now we can add a label here. This probably fits into maintenance, and the changed files is just file. I'm gonna leave that in there now because it'll speed up development. Actually, I'll take it out. It's not really relevant for this. So now we need an each file with jQuery method. So here we are going to create this. Something needs to glob for app assets star.js, and for every file there we do if file.read file.include import $ from jQuery. So this is a file that is importing jQuery, then we can yield that file. So this is pretty standard for how most keeps look like. It's usually starts with some kind of global grep, the code base for what we're interested in, basically find the problems. So once we have found our file, before we yield the change, we need to actually fix the file. So we're going to say remove jQuery. So we'll say content equals remove jQuery from file.read file. So we'll read that file. We're going to have a remove jQuery method, and then we're going to say file.write file and a new content that has jQuery removed. So we need a remove jQuery method here. Take some content, and for now we're just going to make the file blank. So this should be enough to get us started. So let me run that keep in dry run mode, and that will be not pretty useless keep, but it should be called jQuery cleanup keep. So jQuery cleanup keep as a dry run, run that. And I've got a typo. Remove jQuery, remove query. There we go. Okay, so this is basically what we'd expect. It found a file here called activities.js, and this does indeed import jQuery as we'd expected. We were looking for that. And it does just empty the whole file out. So that's what we expected it to do. Now, how are we going to implement remove jQuery? Well, in this case, I have prepared something earlier called the Ask Claude Keep Helper. And it's not very exciting what's going on in here. This class is actually very simple. It's just calling the Anthropic Claude API, and it's asking for code. So we have an ask for code method, and we're going to write some instructions to ask it to fix the code for us. This is the kind of simple thing that AI should be capable of doing, and in my preparation and tests earlier, it was doing a pretty good job of. So let me show you what I mean by asking Claude. So we have to do a couple things here. We need to construct a system message for Claude, which is going to tell it what its job is. So that's going to say you are a front-end developer at GitLab, and your job is to remove references Be sure to return exactly the complete updated file with no more jQuery references and nothing else changed. And then we're going to give it a user message, which is the primary instruction that it needs to do right now. And that is, the code is this. And so, it has its system message, which is its responsibility, and then the user message is just the example that it needs to fix. And my helper here just ask Claude.new.ask for code. We need to tell it what language the code is, what the system message is, and what the user message is. This over here requires there to be an Anthropic API key set as an environment variable, and I've already set that. So, fingers crossed, let's try running it. Okay, so that's the diff that was generated from our keep. It removed the import from jQuery. It actually swapped our uses of jQuery with document.querySelector, and several other jQuery APIs are replaced with just regular JavaScript APIs. So let's try and actually create 2 real merge requests with this. And the AI is pretty slow at this, so it does take some time. Okay, that's one diff generated, and it'll be pushing up to this merge request that it created in my fork, and it's pushed. So we'll have a look now at the changes tab, and this looks like a pretty good merge request. And our merge request description is here, and if we go to the merge request tab, we can see, well, it's not there yet. Should be able to see a second merge request being created now for a different JavaScript file. So the second merge request is now there too, and let's see if the changes look sensible. Yes, it removes the import jQuery and changes our jQuery APIs to using equivalent JavaScript APIs. So this illustrates, again, the point about Housekeeper being a very useful tool for creating many small merge requests so that it's easier for the reviewer. It would have been easy enough to write an automation now that created a single merge request that changed and removed jQuery from 100 files, but that would be very difficult for somebody to review, and probably part of the reason why we struggle to do these kinds of cleanups in general. But another important part of the philosophy of Housekeeper is to make the descriptions of your merge requests very helpful for the reviewer, because you're asking them to review code that was written by a bot, and we might be generating lots of merge requests, and we don't really want to waste their time with them trying to figure out who created this code and what it's doing. So one example here, if I was using AI, is I would say, warning, this was generated by AI. Please review the code carefully, and if there is an issue with the change, just close the merge request. Later on, we can figure out how many of them are closed and figure out what was going wrong with them, but that's one easier way to deal with this, to kind of put less burden on the reviewer. And if we had a handbook page that was explaining why we were removing jQuery or how we were removing jQuery, it would all go in the merge request description. And then the good thing about Housekeeper, it'll make sure if it generates 100 merge requests, they've all got this very clear description, and you'll get 50 different reviewers, which is the other aspect of Housekeeper. One of the things you can do with change here is pick a reviewer, and we have other examples of keeps that are trying to pick reviewers based on who is in the team that owns the specific file, and if you can attribute files to a team, that's really effective, and we have good examples of how to do that already. So that is the full demo, and a couple more details to be aware of is that this AI implementation here, it's not actually being used in any real keeps today. This may be something we will try, and Housekeeper may be not the best tool, and there's probably a lot of other AI tools being developed to do similar things to this, but where we are seeing Housekeeper be very useful is the cases where the code can be really easily fixed by an automation. So if it's like structural changes or changes to YAML files or updates that happen over time to the code base, things that people would have had to manually done but very easily automatable, that's where Housekeeper's been really useful, and we've generated and merged over 250 merge requests already doing that. This Housekeeper approach may be still useful in conjunction with AI in this approach, as opposed to other tools that might be good at refactoring a bunch of code, in that the Housekeeper still automates all of the merge request generation for you and assigning reviewers and adding labels to your merge requests. So this can still be quite a useful framework for even AI-based changes where we want to create many, many small changes and review them independently. So as I said several times, keeping it small is the philosophy of Housekeeper, and also that Housekeeper can be used as a gem on other projects other than the GitLab Rails code base, and there will be documentation for that as well. So thank you for watching my demo, and I hope you create a keep soon. Bye-bye.